All right. Welcome to episode 8 of the Wyld Farm Family Fun Show. On this show, we do everything farm, everything food, everything family, and most importantly, have a ton of fun. If you've had a chance to join Nick and I through the first 7 episodes, we brung on a handful of different guests from all different varieties. We had a lot of fun. We've gained a lot of value, learned a lot of things. One thing Nick and I love talking about the most is just blown away by blackberries. Like I don't think we've learned more about blackberries in my life, and I know a lot of our listeners had a lot of fun with that too. So, but thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Troy. I am the founder of FarmBridge. FarmBridge is a platform that supports farms, farm workers, markets, and local shoppers all in one. And we do a lot around local food systems, therefore inspiring us also to start this show. Nick is also very passionate about local food systems, but most importantly, being in the kitchen, using good food, and then helping educate those on leading healthier lives. Nick, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world before we introduce our guests.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Troy, and good evening, everyone. I'm incredibly excited to dive in with our guests tonight. What I'm most present to is I was blown away by my research with what Adam and Nick are going to bring to the table, and it's going to be epic for one. But then second of all, just like the impact that things like honey, right? Like there's other things that are always going on besides the product itself. And so I'm really excited to dive in with Adam and Nick to hear about all the amazing things that they have going on, not just with food, but the impact on the environment and, veterans' lives, which is incredible. So I'm going to leave it there with that. And at the end of the show, I'm going to dive in with a simple, super awesome recipe that anyone can use that is related to bees, honey. And without further ado, let's bring our guests of honor onto the show, Nick and Adam. Good evening, and how are the both of you, and where are we calling in from? We'll start with Adam.
Good evening.
Adam, welcome.
Yeah, doing great tonight. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Troy. My name is Adam Ingrao. I'm with Michigan State University Extension. I run the Heroes to Hives program at MSU. I'm coming to you from Newberry, Michigan, in the eastern UP.
Fantastic. And what about you, Nick?
Hi, my name is Nick Kaminski. I'm the owner and operator of Hickory Tree Farm Apiaries and a Heroes to Hives alumni. And I'm calling in tonight from Kansas City, Michigan, about 20 minutes north of Grand Rapids.
Awesome. And before we dive into everything, can I can we throw a fun fact out there? Adam, what's a fun fact for you? Like, what's a fun fact you got about your life or recently?
Fun fact about my life. I've actually spent almost 27 years working in agriculture. It's kind of a fun fact of my life. Started working in the field, picking and working in packing sheds when I was 14 years old, and I've been part of agriculture pretty much ever since, except for my stint in the military.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, that is a fun fact. You're a man of the land, that if they may say.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for sharing, Adam. And Nick, how about you? What's a fun fact?
I'd have to say a fun fact about me is that I live in the same house that I've lived in my entire life, except for the 12 years that I was in the Marine Corps. I purchased my childhood home on the family farm, and we moved here, and that's how we decided to get into agriculture, to revive a farm that had been dormant for probably close to about 30 years.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't have that fun fact, but I think Troy can, because he's learning how to braid hair for a soon-to-be daughter. So,
Yes, we are. We're expecting our fourth child and our first daughter, so this will be a new journey for me. And so Nick's referring to the fun ticker that we put across the bottom of the screen if you didn't get a chance to see it. But yes, lots of fun coming my way. Not new into parenting, but definitely new into being a father of a daughter. So looking for the joys of that. But how about you, Nick, before we get into our guests?
Let's see. Fun fact for me. I think the most fun that I had was going back to my CrossFit gym today after getting the okay from my. I had a bad back injury, and I somehow healed myself. I don't know if I'm fully healed, but anyway, I was staring down, having fusion surgery on my cervical spine, and I've avoided all of that. And I was back at the gym, loaded up a barbell, not super heavy, but it was just really, it was a really beautiful moment for me to be back after 4 months of little or no movement. So it was a big win for me. So that's fun. That's a big part of my life. I have a lot of fun at the CrossFit gym and just fun moving my body. So I don't know how fun that is, but that's really what's just present with me.
Hey, we need you in the kitchen, man, right? So whipping up those good desserts and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I want to do a little bit of introduction too, again. So I know Adam and Nick shared a little bit about themselves, but Dr. Adam Ingrao has done extensive work, from what I understand, for MSU Extension in the agricultural world, owns his own farm up in Newberry, and is one of the co-founders, I believe, of the program of Heroes to Hives, if not the founder. And Nick also is involved in that program. And so we truly want to dive into that, because that is a very interesting space out there to help out veterans in the world of farming, beekeeping, running an own business, I would imagine, a little bit of entrepreneurship and community involvement in that. And then a little bit about Nick real quick before I kick it to Adam. Nick and I met actually a few years ago when we were just launching FarmBridge. Wanted to help out in any way I could with Nick and the farm and as Apiary. And so really grateful to run across Nick. Nick runs his own farm, is an awesome beekeeper and educator, I believe, especially for the Heroes to Hives program. Has done a lot of work with that. And so we're going to dive into both of their stories. But first, I want to kick it over to Adam. Adam, tell us a little bit about Heroes to Hives.
Yeah, absolutely. So Heroes to Hives is a free 9-month beekeeping education program we offer through Michigan State University Extension to military veterans, active duty service members, National Guard members, reservists, and their dependents. And we basically take them through an entire season of beekeeping. The program's really focused on beginning beekeepers, so individuals with less than 5 years of experience or individuals that have never kept bees before. And we take those individuals through 9 months of beekeeping. We start in March of every year, and it goes through November of every year. And we basically have an online curriculum that individuals go through, and then we pair that with on-ground experiences at 7 locations that we have across the state of Michigan. The program right now is the largest ag training program for military veterans in the country. And this year, we've got a lot of big changes coming to the program. We're on pace to be over 600 students in the program this year. And we're really moving towards making the program more accessible across the country with partnerships with the University of Missouri, University of Nebraska, and University of Minnesota this year to bring on-ground programming to veterans in those states as well. So really big program, great opportunity for veterans to get their kind of feet wet in the beekeeping industry and be part of a supportive network of other veterans who are working to support pollinators and the health of bees in general across the United States. I'd say, one of the things that we really focus on in the program is we focus on sustainable beekeeping. We are not in the business of there's a big role for commercial beekeepers, but we're not in the business of training commercial beekeepers. We're really focused on smaller scale apiaries that are individuals with, I would say, kind of around 20 hives, but say no more than 100 is kind of our target audience. So these are smaller scale hobbyist beekeepers. They're individuals that are kind of supplementing income on the farm or, diversifying farm income, which is always an important part of agriculture, especially for small farmers, is having diversified income streams on those farms. So that's kind of what we focus in on the program.
Yeah, and so just for our listeners, for the sake of our listeners too, just kind of, you mentioned the word sustainability in there, and so can you share a little bit about like the world, or in particular maybe the United States, in beekeeping, and why bee and the revitalization of bees and everything in the U.S. is so important to farming?
Yeah, sorry, Troy. I was having a tough time hearing what you were saying. There was a lot of breaking up in the signal. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, so you had mentioned sustainability, and so for our listeners, can you dive into a little bit what that is? Like, is the population of bees in the United States, and why it's so important to have these type of programs to help out the farming industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so really, when we think about beekeeping in general, so the industry as we stand right now, we are at the lowest point of as far as population of honey producing colonies in the United States that we've been in since post World War II. 1950 is about where we topped out in population of honeybee colonies in the United States. We're at about a third of what we had then, and our population continues to grow. The thing that illustrates kind of where we're at in desperate situation is that about 70% of all of our bees in the United States go to California for almond pollination once a year. And so that is a lot of eggs in one basket. And so it's really important to have smaller scale beekeepers to kind of be able to provide those services within their communities without having to rely on larger commercial scale beekeepers, which already have a big role in agriculture. And so really what we're training is that smaller scale beekeeper to really fill those gaps where we have, a lot of commercial beekeepers that are keeping bees, but we need more bees, and we need more bees kept well and kept sustainably. And by this is sustainable, I mean keeping the bees alive. You buy bees once, and that's the only purchase you make of bees. You sustainably increase the size of your apiary off of that initial purchase. And that's what we try to train people to do. A lot of beekeepers will just buy new bees every single year because they die every year. And that is not sustainable. That is what's killing our industry right now. And so we need people that are well educated. And that's what we try to do in Heroes to Hives, is give these individuals the tools they need to be good beekeepers.
Yeah, and since you're in that space talking about that, so share a little bit more about what it means to veterans in this program, because I know beekeeping is obviously a huge component of the education, but I believe you guys do a lot more to get them acclimated in the community and actually teach them to run a small scale business. Am I correct?
Yeah, we do a lot of other things within the program to get folks out in the community. I mean, one thing that we do every year is we work with the Michigan Honey Festival, which is the first Saturday in August every year in Frankenmuth. And so we actually have a booth that we host there every year where we do live hive demonstrations to get our students to be able to be out in the community and showing the skills that they've learned. But as far as the business piece is really concerned, we really have the program as itself really is focused on the actual acts of beekeeping. And so what we do is we partner with other organizations or refer our students to other organizations as they want to build out their beekeeping business. And Nick actually is a prime example of that, where he's actually been, working with other organizations to increase the scale of his beekeeping business. And one of those would be the Grand Valley State University Veteran Entrepreneurship Lab, which really helps with kind of helping veterans get skilled up and be in business, and also giving them the tools to actually be able to develop business plans and things like that. So we work with a lot of other organizations to help fill those gaps that we do not have within the program. Business is not a huge focus of the program currently, though.
I mean, that's incredible. Not only the partnership aspect, but being able to partner and leverage those expertise, because we know, you and Nick are excellent at beekeeping for sure, and helping them get there. But like you said, like there's so many educational aspects of business, entrepreneurship, learning how to be out there on the farm and everything. And so that's really neat. Nick, do you want to share a little bit more about what organizational partnerships look like and how people can kind of get started in that?
Yeah, absolutely. When I got started out in Heroes to Hives, I knew that my eventual role was to be keeping bees in some sort of a commercial or like a main squeeze. This is my career aspect. And of course, the first key piece to that is good animal husbandry, sustainable beekeeping, best management practices, and being a successful beekeeper. Because obviously, if you're not in it for the bees, you're not going to make it very far in that business, and that's just a fact. And so getting all the holes filled in the knowledge and getting the solid knowledge base and education from Heroes to Hives, and receiving the mentorship from the program, and also getting the skills of working with other veterans and sharing those experiences, it all builds. But when I was able to partner and go with the GVSU Michigan Veteran Entrepreneur Lab, that was a really fantastic experience, because I was able to pull in my knowledge of how to keep bees successfully, what is sustainable, and therefore what is profitable, and knowing the possible revenue streams from beekeeping. Now let's tie it together and make a sustainable business plan that would be scalable for growth for the indefinite future, and go ahead and apply that. And I was able to be a part of a cohort where I worked with several other veterans and some mentors, and they helped us develop our business plans, determine, how we're going to do marketing, insurance, everything from setting up an LLC and getting the budget done and everything. And it culminates with a pitch presentation, which I, in fact, won the grand prize to. And so I went and the grand prize was $5,000 of startup capital, which I used to purchase more bees for my operation to increase my stock.
Excellent, man. Well, congratulations too on the program win. That's excellent.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
Before you, so Nick, this question would probably applies to Adam too, but I'm just really curious, like what. Obviously, thank you for sharing about like your family home and like keeping that in the family and that, like, but what really like drew you in? What inspired you to join Heroes and Hives, and like where were you at when you decided that this is something you wanted to do for your life?
That's a really, really good question. At the point that I decided that I wanted to get involved in beekeeping was when I was getting ready to make my exit from the Marine Corps. I'd been in for about 12 years. I had accomplished all of my goals. And at this point in time, I really just wanted to spend some time with my growing family. I had one son, and I knew I wanted to have more children. And I wanted to spend some time with my wife, because I had been deployed to combat theaters a few times. And I just really wanted to spend time with family. And so the choice was, what do you want to do? What do you want to do that is fulfilling? And this is a conversation that Adam and I have had countless times with people. And it's the simple fact that when you go ahead and you join the armed forces, you take an oath to protect and defend the United States of America and its Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And you serve, you write a blank check for your life. And what that means is you have this feeling of servitude, a feeling of worth, and when you exit, you want to be able to maintain that feeling of worth, that feeling of purpose. And to me, protecting our nation's pollinators is quite possibly one of the highest callings that somebody could have, because our food system is essentially a Jenga tower. And if we keep removing pieces, eventually the whole thing's going to collapse, and we're going to find ourselves in much bigger trouble that we may not be able to rectify.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd piggyback kind of off of that sentiment too, Nick. I think that's one of the main things that we really, not only as just beekeepers, but as farmers in general, we need to be our own best advocates. And one of the things that I don't think many folks understand that aren't in the agricultural industry is the important role that farmers play in our nation's food security. I mean, one of the reasons we enjoy all of the freedoms that we have is because we have such a robust agricultural industry. And those farmers, both large and small, play a really big role. And so when we talk to individuals that are interested, in that second mission, what do I do after I left the military? I spent my life serving a greater purpose, and I don't want to stop serving. And one of the best ways that you can continue to serve is to serve to protect our food security in this nation by growing food, by keeping our livestock, by raising bees. It's an easy way to do that. And with Heroes of Hives, I think the whole reason that program has been, whole reason my wife and I started this program 6 years ago was because of that experience that I had getting out of the military. I exited in 2004 as a service-connected disabled vet. I was sent to the VA, to basically get better. Fed a steady diet of opiates, and that became a real personal problem for me. And it really wasn't until I found beekeeping where life started to make sense again. I often tell folks that first time I was in an apiary 14 years ago, that was one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. And it has led to a life of dedication to this insect that plays such a huge role in our personal lives. So it's, Heroes to Hives isn't just about beekeeping. It's about helping individuals understand that there still are these great missions that we can serve. And the way that we do that is just like we did in the military. We train like crazy, and then we implement that training in real world scenarios. And that's exactly what beekeeping is. It's exactly what farming is. And it's why veterans make such good farmers.
Yes. There's definitely some excellent people I've come across in my life in the farming industry that are veterans, are coming from the military. I'm sure you guys both know Steve Whittington, who's a great friend of mine, also very passionate into the farming space. That's a good segue. So you guys both own a farm too. So Nick, maybe share a little bit about what you actually do there. Like, besides all the incredible work that you do with the Heroes of Hive, you actually run your own apiary, right? Or your own farm too as well. I don't know if you guys have cut flowers and other production, but share with our listeners what else you do there.
Well, the primary function of our farm is to serve as the apiary and as an educational center. So what we do is we spend most of our days taking care of our bees. We raise and sell queen bees. And in addition to that, we teach a lot of classes here also. We teach in-person classes for beekeeping, as well as, anywhere from how to do a mite check, basic hive handling, right on all the way up to I do teach even a queen rearing class. As far as the other things that we do on our farm, we actually are very self-sustaining with a lot of our food. We raise a pretty good majority of our fruits and vegetables here. We have apple trees, peach trees. We have a lot of vegetable gardens, various berry gardens, and then we raise most of our own meat. We harvest a lot of venison from right here on the farm, and then we raise our own pigs and chickens and ducks. We do sell eggs here. But the majority of our farm products are centered around the apiary. So, of course, we have queen bees that we sell, and we have our educational side, too, where we have classes. But, of course, we produce lots of beautiful honey like this quart jar right here. So just to give you guys a representational aspect, so this is a quart jar of honey. So this is about 3 pounds. So every year, the United States of America consumes about 460 million pounds of honey. So there's 3 pounds in this jar. So that's 460 million pounds. That is not the amazing part, though. The part that's both amazing and a little bit sad about that is that over 60% of that honey is imported. So a big thing that we can do is to help kind of curb that is supporting small farms like mine and purchasing those products, because that's going to help encourage that growth. And like Adam was alluding to, small apiaries like mine really do help bridge a lot of niches. Being accessible to customers to provide raw honey that is free of harmful antibiotics that may go unchecked in other countries, that may come through the port, possibly unchecked. And in addition to that, my farm produces a lot of other value-added products for your life. Like we have our line of, we have body butters, and then of course we have our tins of hand balms that we produce with our beeswax. And everything on our label you can pronounce, and it is indeed safe enough to eat. I would not recommend it though. Probably not really tasty. But one of the really cool things though that we do make and sell on our farm are our beeswax food wraps, which is a sustainable solution to using plastic wrap in your home. Just an example of those. Wow. We've got these. What they are is they're 100% cotton fabric that's been impregnated with beeswax, jojoba oil, and tree resin, basically pine resin. And these things right here, they conform to pretty much anything.
Yes.
And they're 100%, pliable, reusable. They're just made of cotton and that stuff right there. And they'll stick to anything, including themselves. And then you can they just come right back apart. And I have the cup version here that you guys can see that I'm drinking out of. We put a grommet in it so you can put that on anything, and it actually will hold it too. It won't even leak. These are pretty awesome. These are something I'm really proud that we make with our beeswax here on the farm, because man, I love plastic for everything that it's great for, but everything is bad for, like filling up our landfills. Yeah, that's not any good. So stuff like this keeps some more plastic out. So we like to use that with reusable straws. So we just try to maximize our impact in the economic space, both by providing honey, providing bees, but provide other products so you can reach out there and touch customers. Because I may sell a lotion, or I may sell a wax wrap to somebody who doesn't like honey. I didn't think people like that existed, but I've met a couple. But you get 5 or 10 minutes to talk to that person, and you might educate them a little bit about pollinators or something like that, and get a chance to do a little bit of outreach and help them learn your story and learn the story about pollinators and what they can do to help out.
Yeah. And one story that I always love to share with my kids too, that many people don't maybe think about, is in order for us to enjoy the fruit that we love to eat, all the apples and the berries and all that, we need bees. So we need the apiaries, and so that doesn't get talked about unless you go to a farm tour and you listen to somebody like you, Nick, talk about what bees can provide to the farming community. And so that's one way to connect with people too that may or may not like honey.
Also, no bees, no mead. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Hey, I've got you shared an interesting tidbit on the poundage of honey there that you have. So share, what does it look like for how many bees to produce that amount of honey, so people can kind of have some context about how much bees are on your farm?
Yeah, so just to give the context, so here's a quart jar of honey. It's about 32 fluid ounces. It weighs 3 pounds. And so just to give you an idea of how many bees it takes to produce this, it takes one bee its entire lifetime to produce about a tablespoon of honey. So that is, I'm sorry, actually it's a teaspoon of honey. It's a teaspoon of honey. So bees pretty much have to fly several times distance-wise around the earth just to make the mileage up that they need to cover to visit all the flowers to make 1 pound of honey even possible. So just the sheer amount of work that goes into this, enjoy your toast.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so can you share too, flowers, right? Because you mentioned they have to travel around to different flowers. And so one thing I like to at least share with our family, and would love for you to elaborate just a little bit on for listeners, is that there are certain flowers that we can plant in a good, sustainable way, obviously with not chemical based, that we can plant to help out bees, like lavender and things like that. And so can you share a little bit about that for people that can actually do some help out there by growing just certain flowers?
Yeah, trees are a really fantastic thing that oftentimes get overlooked. It's going to be a bit of a more long-term investment. Some of the flowering trees, like tulip poplar, may take up to 15 years to flower. But I'll tell you this much: it's noble work, because when you don't have, a lot of space, planting a tree, which can take up a very small footprint, can produce up to an acre's worth of forage. So planting trees like linden, basswood, tulip poplar, those trees are absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, there's your usual ground cover and clover and things like that. Adam, would you like to chime in on some of the native species that may be hurting, like milkweed, things like that we can get out for pollinators?
Yeah, there's a lot. And I mean, this is the habitat conversation is something we could really, get into the weeds with, pun intended. But coreopsis, buttonflower, things like this, there is a lot of forage that you can do as an individual to put out for bees. The thing I always tell folks is that, when we think about forage for honeybees, you're essentially thinking about long-term investment. Like Nick said, most of these are perennial species that are native species that are good for bees, and trees are something that is overlooked constantly, which is a really great resource for bees, especially in the early part of the season, which is something we don't think a lot about. The native species of bees that we have in Michigan, we have over 470 species of native bees in Michigan. They do really good on the native plants that we have. But honeybees, European honeybees, are not native species to the United States. They are an introduced species. And so they have nutrition requirements that are oftentimes outside of the realm of native flowers. And so planting things like trees so that we can get early forage out, things like, and some of them are native, like maples are a great example, where they are really early producing trees, and they provide a really important pollen and nectar source early in the season. It really gets the brood rearing going in beehives. So, I'd say that if you are interested in looking at habitat, I would definitely encourage you to check out all the resources we have available on pollinators.msu.edu related to habitat. I mean, we've got plant lists for you, all sorts of great resources if you're interested in putting in habitat.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I always kind of think about ways that people in the community can help, right? I mean, they can obviously help by purchasing honey and reaching out to you guys. If they're interested in the Heroes to Hives, they can do that too. But there's things they could do at home to really help out the bee colonies and you guys. And so I wanted to bring that up. I do want to mention too that I have shared the Heroes to Hives link from the MSU webpage so people can find more information about that. I have shared Nick's farm, so Hickory Tree Apiaries is on there. I'm going to share your farm too, Adam. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Beewise Farms too?
Yeah. Beewise Farms is the farm that my wife and I own. My wife runs the farm full time. We are a 40-acre diversified farm here in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. Bees is our main business. So we do honey, obviously, a lot of value-added products like Nick showed there as well. Tons of education on the farm. We also have a retail store on the farm where we're right on M28 in the Eastern UP, so right near Tequamanon Falls. So we have a lot of traffic that goes by. So we've got a retail store where you can come and buy our farm products. Other things that we do on the farm, lavender is our main crop that we do here on the farm. So we have about 700 lavender plants on the farm. So we do produce a lavender honey, which is from our bees foraging on our lavender. The other things that we do are cut flowers. So I came from the cut flower industry. I used to work for Ball Horticulture doing phenotyping for Lysianthus trials as they were importing new varieties in the United States from Japan. My job was to check and make sure if they were actually marketable. So I have a big background in cut flowers. So we do about 60 varieties of gladiola. We do about 25 varieties of bearded iris as well. And then as far as crops are concerned, lots of vegetables. Apple trees on the farm. We have wild blueberries, all sorts of different berries, blackberries, black cherry. And then we also do CBD hemp. So another business that we own is the High Hemp Company That's HI Hemp Company, based out of Schwartz Creek. We're the business partner there. So we also do CBD products as well.
Excellent, man. So definitely a huge variety. I have one question. I saw a picture, I believe, of you doing some work in your garage. I believe you like to do some hands-on rebuilding, knocking down. And so tell me a little bit about what you're doing there, and maybe one of your passion areas outside of farming.
Yeah, that's a cool thing to talk about. I don't get to talk about that part of my life very much. I am a metal fabricator, so I like to tinker around with large metal structures and sculptures. So right now, the big thing that I'm working on, most of this is repurposed art. So I like to use materials that I find around and repurpose them into art. So the thing I'm working on right now is a 10-foot tall praying mantis that is going to be climbing the side of our farm sign that's out on the highway here. It's primarily being made of, I think it's 2 bed frames, an old bike, like a stationary bike, couple of roof turbines, and I think some old saws is what we're using for the materials to put this all together. But yeah, that's something I do a lot of. I have a big wood shop, and I do a lot of metal work. So yeah, when I'm not out in the field or working bees, I'm generally in the shop, tinkering around.
You're going to enter that into the art prize when it comes back around to Grand Rapids?
That's not a bad thing. We were talking about bringing this thing down to what is it? It's a salvage fest. It's like a salvage art festival in Lansing, but I hadn't thought about Grand Rapids. Yeah, maybe. We'll see how hard it is to travel around with. It does come apart into pieces, but it's a pretty unruly structure right now.
Hey, I mean, I've seen some really unique, cool things at Art Prize that people have built together, and that definitely fits right in there, man. So,
can I dive in real quick on? Thank you for sharing, Adam, and that sounds like an amazing project. And you're a very skilled individual with cut flowers and hemp and all sorts of other things. But this is a question for both you and Nick. But one, I'm curious, like, what is your favorite recipe that includes honey or food that you pair with honey? And then if either one of you could talk about some of the medicinal properties. I know like that has, people with allergies might, consume honey or for immunity support I've heard about. So could you just dive in a little bit about like some of your favorite things to eat with honey recipes and then some of the health benefits?
Yeah, that's a cool thing to think about, is the food aspect of honey and also this health aspect. So my favorite recipe right now, and I don't make it, we supply honey to a local restaurant up here in Newberry, and the lady Cedar's Pizza is who the restaurant is. They make the most incredible cheesecakes, and she has been using our honey and making a honey lemon cheesecake that is just out of this world. It is, I mean, it's so good that my wife and I, we don't have any kids. It's just the two of us. About once a month, we will pay to have one of those made, like a full cheesecake that we take home and we just munch on for the rest of the month. That is probably my favorite thing right now, honey related, at least in a recipe. As far as the health benefits that go of honey, honey is I think the coolest fact about honey is the only food that insects produce as food for themselves that we as humans eat. So it's a really unique food in that respect. But as far as the health benefits are concerned, one of the coolest things about honey, I think that a lot of people don't understand, is because of low pH level, it has a lot of antimicrobial, antifungal properties. So it is actually used it has been used for millennia as dressings for wounds. So, you get a big cut on your leg while you're out hiking. We actually carry honey with us when we go backpacking. And, if something were to happen and you get a large cut and you need to sanitize that cut, packing it with honey will actually do that. So, I mean, not only is honey good for consumption, like you said, for the allergy benefits, local honey is fantastic, especially raw honey, because it doesn't have all the pollen taken out of it. That's what you want for the allergies. But it also has these amazing healing properties as well. And so, honey is this, I think we've lost respect for honey over the years. Back in ancient Egypt, when honey was when bees kind of first were being kept by humans, actually kept, Honey was revered as a gift from the gods, and it's because it has all of these different functions, both as medicine, as food. It's sweet, and I mean, there's very few things in nature you find as sweet as honey. So it's a really just dynamic thing. It's a food, it's a medicine, it's so many different things.
Yeah, that's amazing. How about you, Nick? Thank you, Adam.
Man, I don't really have a lot of recipes for food, so to speak, that I really super enjoy. But one of my absolute favorite ways to eat honey is straight up just in the comb, wax and all. That is a really, really special treat. We sell, we have limited stock every year, but we sell a chunk honey where we put sections of comb honey immersed in extracted honey in a jar for people to eat. And I think it's really cool eating honey straight out of the comb because the wax is so soft and it pops almost like nature's gusher. It's really and it's really cool. We do make a honey cookie that when we were doing a lot of more in-person markets and we could hand out food items and stuff like that, we would make a cookie that we would make with honey in place of sugar and hand that out, and people were certainly pretty big fans of that. But probably my personal favorite way to enjoy honey is actually as a beverage. I'm constantly drinking honey in one of three forms. Probably one of my favorite ways to drink honey is in water. So I will take water and I will make a 1-to-1 honey water syrup so it mixes easier. And I'll just put a couple tablespoons of lemon juice in a glass of ice and water with a splash of honey syrup to sweeten it, as opposed to using a soft drink or something like that. And the really cool part is you can make it what you want. In the summertime, I love doing lemon juice, lime juice, and a couple slices of cucumber for some really refreshing water when I'm out baling hay or something like that. And then another one of my favorite ways, or two favorite ways, is fermentation. I love jun. Jun is a fantastic form of kombucha. It's been described as the champagne of kombucha. And that is a special Jun SCOBY. You can buy those online, but that's with green tea instead of like black tea or something like that, and honey, and that is fermented. And then probably one of my personal favorites, I have some here, is also a nice bottle of mead. So this is mead that we make here. This is our 2020 Vikings Blood, which is made from cherries from Traverse City that I juiced and then mixed with our honey and fermented. So I particularly love eating honey on a spoon or a comb, but fermentation is the way to go for me. Oh, and cool thing, caveat on to what Adam was talking about. As far as the health benefits go, we all have heard about eating, raw honey for its pollen and allergies and stuff like that. But honey, yes, is very antibacterial and antimicrobial, but we can go even further with that and use the Manuka honey, which is quite possibly one of the most powerful antibiotics on this earth. My wife is a veterinary assistant and works with a lot of animals that see a lot of different injuries. Barn cats that have some pretty heinous wounds on them. And they had one that was just a frequent flyer, repeat customer, could not be healed, would not, stop running around and reopening the injury. And it led to infection after infection. And eventually the end solution was Manuka honey. None of the antibiotics would work, but they dressed the wound in Manuka honey and it healed perfectly.
It's incredible, man. Yeah, and I know Nick's, he commented earlier in the show about working out and how passionate he is in working out. But what you're talking about there too, Nick, like honey in your water is good for working out because the honey actually breaks down slower, which actually gives you the burst of energy in more of a gradual state versus any type of sugar or any type of energy drink or whatever you want to call it that people try these days. Honey actually helps slow that energy down and helps you use it better. So I every time I hear that, I love the concept of incorporating honey into your diet because of the sustainable energy levels that you can use in your body.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I started doing that, and we thought, this is really good. I couldn't possibly be the first person to think of this. And I really, I'll make like a half gallon of this stuff when I'm out baling hay, because I always seem to be doing it on like the hottest day in July, on a tractor with no cab and no AC. I'm old school. And so I looked it up, and then there's actually a drink Flitzel, and it's commonly referred to as Haymaker's Punch. And they put all sorts of things in there, but namely it was citrus, honey, and apple cider vinegar. And that was to keep you hydrated, to keep you flexible, and keep you going. And like you were saying, with the absorption of the sugars in honey and that slower energy, it is also much sweeter than table sugar. So you use less of it as a sweetener, and the sugar is more digestible. So it actually goes a little bit more towards energy than opposed to being consumed as empty calories like a table sugar.
Yes. Very, very powerful stuff. Cool, guys. Well, I'm going to start to bring up Nick here and his fun in the kitchen that we like to end the show with. But we always like to offer one last insight from our guests. And so would love to have you guys share one last message, either around the program, your guys' work, anything that we talked about for our listeners before we bring Nick up. So any last thoughts, Nick? We'll go with you first.
Yeah, right now I just want to take advantage of this platform to go ahead and say thank you to all of the customers out there that are supporting small farms and that are supporting the craft makers and those small retailers, because right now they're certainly having a difficult time. I know it's been difficult for us. So to have the support of the customers means a lot to us. And I just want to take a moment to highlight again, anybody listening out there watching, if you know somebody who is interested in keeping bees and they are a veteran or the dependent of a veteran, you don't even have to be, it doesn't have to be in person. You can attend Heroes to Hives free and get that education, because when I met Adam, I was a self-educated beekeeper, and I had some really, really advanced knowledge in some areas and like almost minuscule or no knowledge in crucial areas. So get out and get the Heroes to Hives and get people involved in that, because it's a fantastic program.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. I think you broke up a little bit there at the end, but I think we got the message for sure. Adam?
Yeah, I would definitely, I'd definitely, repeat what Nick said about the important role that small farmers play and the important role that our customers play in our lives as well. But if you are interested in the Heroes to Hives program, heroes2hives.com is our website, where you can learn more about the program. You can also enroll in the program if you're eligible. We also, the last thing I'll leave it with is that the Heroes to Hives, just as so all of your listeners know, is an entirely donor-run program. So we are not a program that relies upon federal grants to run. It is the kindness of individuals like your listeners that support our program, that keep this program free for hundreds of veterans and their dependents every single year. So if you are interested in supporting a cause like ours, we are a nonprofit that operates within MSU Extension. You can also find that link on our website on how to donate as well. So thanks for that.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. And I did share the links for that information, as well as your guys' farm. And we'll provide more information too, if you guys have it, around how people can get involved, either in the program itself, but also to help support you guys. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm grateful to know both of you and at least get a chance to work with you in some capacity over the last few years. And so I was pretty excited to have you guys join on. You guys truly have an amazing story of not only what you do on the farms and the apiaries, but the program that you're building. And I can't wait to continue to support you guys and watch it grow across the nation. So truly thankful for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Nick.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to bring Nick on, but of course we want to invite Nick and Adam to stay on to watch. So please do. If you have to leave, no problem at all, too, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you again to Adam and Nick. Wow, like you guys blowed my mind with your knowledge, your passion, your skills, and I'm so sorry to report that my recipe is not a lemon honey cheesecake, but I am definitely putting that in the back of my mind, and I'm going to try to whip something up like that. That sounds absolutely amazing. So thank you for that cue, Adam. And Switchel, I like that Haymakers punch stuff. I think that stuff is fantastic. So I'm going to figure out how to make that my own. That was always something I wanted to do. So next time you guys come on the show, I'm gonna figure it out. So we'll just do that. But what we're gonna do tonight is one of my favorite, favorite vinaigrettes, favorite sauces, and the reason why, when I teach people to cook, and in my course, I talk about saucing it up. So like being able to create simple sauces that taste really good and that you can control the ingredients. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients in this. And I'm always a big, like Adam and Nick that we just had, like they're about, I can actually pronounce all of the label, like all of the ingredients. So that is a really big thing, right? If I look at a store-bought salad dressing or vinaigrette or something, it's like there's all sorts of stuff in there that I'm like, I don't even know what half of this stuff is. But it's really super simple to create your own sauces, and that this could be transferred into like a salad that you make, like a warm protein bowl or anything of sort. So this is a honey mustard vinaigrette. And the thing that you want to kind of keep in mind is also a really great opportunity to develop your flavor profile. So when we talk about flavor of like when you taste something, we want to have a balance of fat, acid, salt, and sweet. I always throw a little extra S at the end. Sometimes I think about spice. So we're actually going to demonstrate all of these 4 to 5 pieces of flavor that are going to go into this vinaigrette. So it's actually really fun to play around with. But with a vinaigrette, but this is kind of a sauce too. So it's usually like a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 parts oil, 1 part vinegar, acid, whatever. But the other thing that I want to really keep in mind is that when you create a vinaigrette or you create a sauce, you have to also remember, like, well, what am I going to be putting this on? So if I was going to use, like, create a sauce that it was going to go on like an apple salad, I want to factor in that there's going to be some sweetness and a little tartness from the apple. So I want to be able to balance the sauce that is also going to bring out the full flavor of the entire dish. But let's just get the sauce done. And word to the wise, like if you're going to make a sauce, make it before you actually make up your meal, because if you've got a hot meal and you're like, oh, damn, I forgot to put the sauce on or I make the sauce, it's always like the first thing you want to do before you actually cook anything, right? So you want to have the sauce ready so that you can eat right away. And anyway, so that was just a little fun there. Okay, so like I said, it's like 5 ingredients. So first thing you're going to want to do, as far as equipment is concerned, you can do this in a blender, but I'm going to just say do it old school, like Grandma had to do it, and get yourself a metal bowl and a metal whisk. I've got my little heart monitor on, so I can get a little workout going on. So we're gonna use the whisk workouts. Okay, so I'm gonna try this out. So it's gonna be again like 3-to-1 ratio. So I have 1 part mustard. So it's about, let's say, I think I put about a 1/4 cup in here. I also have a 1/4 cup of vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I'm going to mix that together. Oh, the other little cool thing I want to show you all is like when you do put together, like, whisk in a bowl and you need to use 2 hands to emulsify and pour oil, you want to damp a towel and create a little turban around your bowl, so that the bowl doesn't slide around on you as you are whisking and stopping. So there's a little fun little tidbit for you. So I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of honey that I got from my co-op. I don't remember the farm, but I want to make sure that I'm supporting local apiaries. All right, so there's the honey. I'm going to mix that in. Always the fun part when you get to taste the honey straight up. All right, so you're going to mix that together. All right. So now the fun part. So I'm also, for a little spice, I'm adding in a little bit of yellow curry powder. Or not curry powder, but yellow curry paste. So I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to add a dash of pinch of salt before I get started. I've got my little turbine bed for my bowl to stay in place. And so now the fun part begins, where I add the oil into my mixture. So I have about a 1/2 cup, well, about 3/4 cup of olive oil that I'm throwing in here. You could use coconut oil, you could use avocado oil, whatever you want, but I'm going to slowly drizzle. And you can notice that the bowl is not shaking around on me. That's why I have that little turban on the bottom. So I'm going to keep whisking.
Perfect for kids, Nick.
What's that?
Perfect for kids, right?
Perfect for kids.
That bowl would be on the ground for sure.
It's all about safety first, and making sure that you don't have so many things to clean up. But once the oil is in there, you can kind of get after it a little bit. All right. So I'm also going to add just a touch of lemon juice to taste. So now I'm going to use my finger, and I'm going to check. Where's the fat? Where's the acid level? Where's the salt level? Where's the sweet level? And so if it's a little bit on the fatty side, I'm going to add a little acid. I could also add a little bit of sweet. If it's too acidic, I could add a touch more sweetness to it, and I could add a touch more fat. As far as sweet is concerned, what I would do is then add some salt. Okay, same with salt. If it's too salty, add a little bit more sweet. But I think it tastes really pretty good. I'm going to add just a touch more salt, but you can kind of see it. It's nice and emulsified. Okay, like I said, you can do this in a blender. And then your other piece that you'll want to do, that I like to have on hand, is to have a like a little storage container that you can kind of keep your dressings in. So then you can store it in the fridge, and then when you need to use it, you can put a cap on it, whoop, and shake it up, and use it on your next salad, your next protein bowl, and there you got it. Honey mustard sauce, super simple, super easy, super delicious. So good and pretty much good on everything, I would say.
So a couple of things, Nick. Where can people get like that glass there that you have? Where'd you get that?
Yeah, I just ordered some of those on Amazon.
Okay. And tell us some favorite dishes that you would put that on.
Well, let's see. So I think in the winter time, I like to put that on like a winter harvest salad. So I would have some like arugula, roasted squash, some apples, and maybe some roasted chicken would be great. I could also do it on like a warm, like vegetarian or protein-filled meat bowl, like filled with sweet potatoes, maybe some wild rice, some broccoli, and then maybe some like kidney beans or something like that. And maybe some caramelized onions in there as well.
Okay, awesome.
I didn't. I just wanted to make I just wanted to make the sauce, but I'm going to use it tonight.
Do you have the recipe that we can share with people too?
Yeah, absolutely. Where should I put it in the where would I share that, Troy?
Yeah, you can send it to me. I can add it in the comments.
Oh yeah, I'll just send it to you. Okay, perfect. Yep. Sweet.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, Chef Nick, for the sauce to put on everything. What I love about what Nick does here at the end of the show is not only for viewers to learn different things, recipes and sauces, but we're trying to teach our kids to be more involved in the kitchen. And so these are tips that I'm taking away to help educate our kids. As I mentioned last show, Nick, you'll love this, but we got Trevin even more a full out set in the kitchen. Like he's got knives, whisk, measuring cups, and everything that are truly for kids, but sharp enough to use and be crafty in the kitchen. And so that's why we love this so much, and you're awesome, man. So appreciate it.
Thank you. And that's amazing that Trevin's got his own set of skills that he's developing, and like that's gonna, I mean, honest to God, like that's gonna like carry over for him for a lifetime. Like that is that's unbelievable that you are helping him develop those skills. So
you're gonna grow up idolizing Chef Nick.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea, but
all right. Well, good, man. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and close this out. So if you're just joining us late, or anybody that's followed us all throughout the show, we greatly appreciate you as a viewer. Thank you so much for supporting us through these first, I can't believe it, 8 episodes we're up to. If you are just joining us now, make sure you go back and listen to all the incredible information that Nick and Adam shared with us around Heroes to Hives, very cool program that supports veterans that's scaling out across the nation. More information about that in the comments. And then also we dove into farming and beekeeping and apiaries and everything. And so go back, check that out. There's some fun recipes and tidbits in there about each of them and their favorite desserts and drinks, and then some fun with Nick here at the end. And so thank you for listening. Again, this show is all about farm, food, family, and most importantly, fun. So hopefully you had some laughter and some value and some enjoyment out of tonight's show. Have a great night and a great week, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Troy. Have a great week, everybody.